Hello. Today in this video I'm going to talk about a question someone asked me. His question is that whether overworking is very common in finance. He has heard about people working really hard, over 70 hours a week in the field of finance, and he's a bit apprehensive about it. He's a bit scared about, working so long, and he has asked me this question whether overworking is so common in the field of finance. The answer is actually no. Not all finance jobs are that demanding. You obviously have to work and work really hard, but not every single finance job will demand 70 hours from you, right? Having said that, some jobs in the field of finance require you to work really hard. 80 hours, 90 hours can also be very common, especially if you're working in investment banking, in some areas of investment banking, not all areas of investment banking. Then you will be working long hours. But most jobs, at least the ones that I have come across, I haven't seen many people working more than, let's say, 50, 60 hours. That's quite common, right? Anywhere between 40 to 60 hours is what you will be working. Maybe initial years can be a bit of a challenge where you will have to work longer hours. First thing is that initially when you start out, probably not that great at getting things done, and you take longer to finish something. So that's one reason. The other reason is because that's a learning phase, so you'll get a lot of work, and the most hands-on activities are done by junior analyst. So that's when you probably have to spend longer hours than usual. But as you move up in the career ladder, then the number of hours goes down, right? It also depends on which companies, right? Companies from the US, there you have to work much longer hours compared to companies from Europe, right? So banks and financial institutions from Europe cannot ask you to work like say 70, 80 hours. I haven't seen anyone working that long. If you are working in Europe-based financial institution, even the US banks, which are located in European countries, in Germany, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Switzerland, in these countries, they cannot ask you to work like 70 hours a week. It's only in US, London, maybe, but London again is a bit better than the US. And yes, in offshore locations like India and Philippines, yeah, in those places, yeah, the hours can be very bad. But if in a Western European country, it's the labor laws are such that the organization cannot force you to work longer. But it also depends on the salary, right? The people who work much longer in investment banking, in front office role, they make hell lot of money. So you can really make quick money in a span of few years. That's obviously not for everyone, because no matter how much money you make, if you're compromising with your health, that's not going to be good for you, right? And many people have died of cardiac arrest because of working longer hours, and that has happened to many people in the field of finance, right? So that's definitely not for everyone, but the ones who are willing to trade their comfort for money and for career growth, I think you'll have to make up your mind for that, right? And you get paid for that. And I'm not sure that's for everyone. It's entirely up to you, right? You could also get the best of both in some very selective few career options where you get really paid well, but you don't have to work longer hours. I think in asset management you don't work a lot, but you get paid really well, right? I consider risk management is also one area of finance where you get paid really well and you don't spend way too many hours, right? Maybe in some periods within a year you have to stretch a bit, especially when you are approaching regulatory deadlines, maybe towards the end of the year, or there is an investigation to be made by the regulator, and you are working towards it, maybe things can be very, very challenging. But other than that, in other times, you can be a bit more relaxed. Okay, so it's entirely depends on which banks, which financial institution you're working for, or which countries you are based out of. If you are based out of Europe, I think the working hours are not that bad compared to the US. But the salary can also be very, very different. And bankers in the US, they make way more than the bankers in Europe. So that can also be a reason for the difference. To answer the question, yes, in the field of finance, you're expected to be very committed, very focused, and willing to put in extra hours, but it need not be 70, 80 hours a week. If you have a 40 hours contract and you work like maybe another 5, 10 hours a week, that should be fine, right? Should not be a problem. At least not a problem when you don't have to do that every single week. But if it is happening more regularly, I think that's a bigger problem, right? And an extreme commitment, which is beyond just 60, 70 hours, is something that I will not recommend to anyone unless you are compensated, very well compensated for that, right? All right. The answer is, it entirely depends on number of factors. You don't have to be scared if you're willing to make a career in finance. Just choose the company, choose the profile a bit carefully. Also depends on your interest, right? If you're too interested in something and you're working 70, 80 hours a week, that's still fine, right? I know people working 100 hours even in things that they like. That shouldn't be a problem.